Some of those old motorcycles you thought were noisy, leaky, and ready to fall apart? Turns out they were engineered so perfectly, many are still running today with barely a rebuild. I spent days digging through vintage forums, old service manuals, and owner archives, and what I found completely changed how I see classic bikes. Let's count down 10 old motorcycle engines that were built to last forever, and one of them might just outlive its rider. 10. Yamaha XS 1100 Inline 4, 1977 to 1983. Back in the late 70s, Yamaha rolled out something truly wild, the XS 1100, or simply the 11, as riders affectionately called it. But why do you think they went for that name? Well, it was because of the fact that this beast could tear through the quarter mile in just around 11 seconds. That was superbike territory back then. Under the tank sat a mighty 1,101 cubic centimeters, air-cooled inline 4 that pumped out about 95 horsepower and 66 pound-feet of torque numbers that left jaws hanging in 1977. But the real secret behind the XS 1100's legendary longevity was the engineering. Yamaha ditched the usual chain drive and went with a shaft drive instead. That meant no chain lubing, no stretching, no fuss, just smooth, clean power delivery and far less wear over time. The engine was built like a tank-strong internals, excellent oil circulation, and smart ignition tech for its era. You could rev it hard all day, and it would still hum like a sewing machine. It wasn't just a street king either. This engine proved itself in endurance races like the Castrol 6-Hour, showing the world that you could have both brute strength and bulletproof reliability in one package. Decades later, plenty of XS 1100s are still on the road, which says everything about how over-engineered this 11 really was. 9. Kawasaki KZ 1000 Inline 4, 1977 to 2005. Now, if the Yamaha was the gentleman's powerhouse, the Kawasaki KZ 1000 was the street brawler that refused to die. Launched in '77 as an upgrade to the already famous KZ 900, this 998 cubic centimeter inline 4 pushed a clean 100 horsepower, and it could take a beating like few others. Kawasaki's engineers knew riders were pushing these bikes to their limits, so they made it stronger, smoother, and nearly indestructible. They beefed up the crankshaft to tame vibrations and used a clever mix of roller and ball bearings that made the bottom end practically immortal. You could ride it hard, race it, or cruise cross-country. This engine took it all in stride. That's exactly why police departments loved it. The KZ 1000P, the police version, stayed in production all the way till 2005. Think about that. Nearly 3 decades of trust from law enforcement. They used them for high-speed pursuits and long hours of city idling, and those engines just kept ticking. Reinforced gearing, heavy-duty alternators, and rock-solid cooling. Kawasaki built them to survive anything. And from one bulletproof Japanese machine to another piece of engineering genius, Honda had a very different idea brewing around the same time: the CX500. 8. Honda CX500, transverse V-twin, 1977 to 1986. The Honda CX500 was one of those bikes that made people stop and scratch their heads the first time they saw it. Its engine looked like something out of a science project, 2 cylinders extending out sideways from the frame. But this odd-looking setup was no gimmick. Honda built the CX500 to be tough, reliable, and unlike anything else on the road. Many riders called it the poor man's gold wing, and honestly, that wasn't far off. It packed a 497 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled V-twin engine mounted transversely, meaning the cylinders stuck out like wings. This layout kept the bike cool and balanced while giving mechanics easy access for maintenance. And instead of a messy chain, Honda went with a shaft drive that connected neatly to the crankshaft. That meant smooth, effortless riding for thousands of miles. Sure, the CX500 had its peculiarities: timing chain tensioners that sometimes went bad, water pump leaks and stator issues, but if you maintained it properly, the engine just wouldn't quit. Riders who took care of theirs are still racking up miles decades later with nothing but regular oil and fluid changes. And speaking of redemption stories, while Honda was perfecting quiet reliability, Harley-Davidson was busy reinventing itself with an engine that would restore faith in American engineering. 7. Harley-Davidson Evolution Engine, 1985 to present. The mid-'80s were make-or-break years for Harley-Davidson. The company's reputation was hanging by a thread. The old shovelhead engines leaked oil, overheated, and rattled themselves to bits. Then came the Evolution engine, and everything changed. This was Harley's comeback moment, a bold declaration that the brand could be both powerful and reliable. Introduced in 1985, the Evolution, or Evo, was a 1340 cubic centimeter air-cooled V-twin that Harley tested relentlessly over 5,000 hours on the dyno and nearly 750,000 miles on the road. The result was an engine that didn't just roar, it endured. Harley swapped out heavy cast iron for aluminum heads and barrels, cutting about 9 kilos of weight and massively improving cooling. Inside, everything from valve angles to oil flow was redesigned to stop leaks and boost longevity. The Evo made around 71 horsepower, offered more torque at lower revs, and ran smoother than anything Harley had built before. Most importantly, it didn't mark its territory with oil stains anymore. Riders could finally trust a Harley to start, ride, and keep running without a fuss. This engine was Harley's redemption arc. It reminded the world that American bikes could stand toe-to-toe with the Japanese when it came to reliability. And while Harley was rebuilding its legend, Suzuki was quietly crafting one of the most beloved and bulletproof middleweight engines of modern times, the SV650's V-twin. 6. Suzuki SV650 V-twin, 1999 to present. If there's one bike engine that quietly proved modern reliability doesn't need to be overcomplicated, it's the Suzuki SV650's 649 cubic centimeters V-twin. Since its debut in 1999, this engine has built a reputation for being practically unkillable. Riders love to say the SV650 is barely broken in at 50,000 miles. And they're not exaggerating. There are plenty of examples out there with 130,000 miles or more still running strong. What makes it so dependable isn't magic, it's balance. Suzuki designed the engine to be simple, well-cooled, and easy to maintain. The liquid cooling system keeps temperatures steady, and the fuel injection system ensures consistent performance no matter the weather. The engine was stress-free to own and nearly impossible to wear out if you follow the basics: regular oil changes, valve checks, and keeping an eye on fluids. It's not a flashy engine. It doesn't have the extreme horsepower of leader bikes or the issues of older twins. Instead, its charm lies in how smooth, predictable, and efficient it is. It's an engine that just works year after year without complaints. That's why so many riders call the SV650 a forever bike, reliable enough for daily commuting, yet spirited enough for weekend rides. And while Suzuki was quietly perfecting modern reliability, Kawasaki had already done something similar decades earlier, taking old British designs and turning them into something far sturdier and more dependable. 5. Kawasaki W Series Parallel Twin, 1965 to 1975. W1, W2, W3. Before the big inline fours and superbikes took over, Kawasaki made its mark with the W Series engines that looked British but behaved far better. The W1, launched in 1965, was heavily inspired by BSA twins, but Kawasaki didn't just copy, they fixed what was wrong with the originals. The British bikes of the time had a bad habit of leaking oil and wearing out too soon. Kawasaki engineers approached that problem with surgical precision. They gave the W1 a 624 cubic centimeter parallel twin that used a pressed crankshaft with ball bearings and one-piece connecting rods fitted with needle bearings, far more robust than what BSA ever managed. It ran a dry sump system with improved oil circulation, keeping everything lubricated and cool even under long rides. But here's what most riders never realize: there was a hidden reason this engine could take abuse that would destroy others in minutes. You see, power wasn't massive, around 50 horsepower at 6,500 RPM, but that was the secret to its longevity. The engine never felt strained, never screamed for mercy, and best of all, it stayed oil-tight, which was practically a miracle in the 1960s twin world. The W Series proved that reliability didn't have to come at the cost of style or sound, it just needed solid engineering. And speaking of solid, no one took the idea of precision engineering quite as seriously as the Germans did with their iconic Boxer twins, especially the BMW R90S. 4. BMW R90S Airhead Boxer, 1973 to 1976. If you ask old-school touring riders what engine they'd trust in the middle of nowhere, many will still say a BMW Airhead. And among them, the R90S from the mid-70s stands tall as one of the most iconic. Its 898 cubic centimeters flat twin, or Boxer, was a masterpiece of simplicity and balance. Each cylinder stuck out sideways, moving in perfect opposition, a layout that naturally canceled out vibration and kept the bike running smooth no matter how long the ride. BMW's goal was to build an engine that would survive anything. And it did. The R90S proved itself in brutal real-world conditions like the Australian outback, where riders punished these machines across endless desert stretches in blistering heat, sometimes crawling in first gear for hours. The air-cooled Boxer just kept thumping along, unbothered. What made it legendary was how simple it was to care for. 2 valve heads, pushrod valves, easy top-end access, nothing was over-engineered, yet everything worked perfectly. With basic maintenance, these engines easily clocked over 100,000 miles. Many owners just did a top-end refresh every 80,000 miles and kept riding for another lifetime. It was the kind of reliability that made the R90S not just a motorcycle, but a travel companion you could trust anywhere on Earth. And while BMW built its legacy on mechanical precision, across the channel, the British were proving that sometimes simpler was better with the timeless Triumph. Bonneville T120. 3. Triumph Bonneville T120. Parallel twin, 1959 to 1975. This bike wasn't about fancy engineering or cutting-edge innovation. It was about perfecting simplicity and building an engine that just kept on ticking. Powered by a 649 cubic centimeter parallel twin, the Bonneville was never the most powerful bike of its era, but that was the point. Triumph tuned it for smooth, reliable performance rather than chasing high revs and fragile horsepower numbers. This understated approach paid off big time. Owners often brag about their T120 crossing the 100,000-mile mark with little more than oil changes, valve adjustments, and the occasional gasket replacement. The engine's lower stress levels meant its internals aged gracefully, a big reason so many of these classics are still running today. By the early 70s, Triumph made the Bonneville even more durable with the new oil and frame design, reducing leaks and improving structural rigidity. The addition of a 5-speed gearbox in 1972 made it smoother and more highway-friendly. Regular valve maintenance every 20,000 miles kept things healthy, and otherwise it was just gas, ride, repeat. The T120 showed that sometimes less truly is more. It was proof that with solid design and conservative tuning, an engine could outlast its owners. But if there's one motorcycle that completely redefined what reliability meant, setting the standard for every bike that followed it, has to be Honda's game-changing CB750. 2. Honda CB750 Inline 4, 1969 to 1978. When Honda introduced the CB750 in 1969, it didn't just launch a new motorcycle, it completely changed the game. Before the CB750, reliability and high performance rarely went hand in hand. But Honda flipped that idea on its head with a 736 cubic centimeter inline 4 that was smooth, strong, and astonishingly dependable. This wasn't a bike was built to never break down. Honda's engineers were so meticulous that every CB750 engine had to prove itself before leaving the factory. They'd run it at 6,000 RPM for 200 hours straight, then redline it at 8,500 RPM for another 20 hours. Only after surviving that torture test did the engine earn the right to be installed in a bike. That's how serious Honda was about reliability. The engine that delivered 67 horsepower, hit 120 miles per hour, and did it all without rattles, leaks, or problems. It came with modern luxuries like an electric starter and a 5-speed gearbox, features unheard of in that era's high-performance motorcycles. Decades later, CB750s are still on the road, still running smoothly with nothing more than routine maintenance. It set a new global benchmark for motorcycle reliability, forcing every manufacturer to step up their game. And while the CB750 proved reliability could be mass-produced, Honda's next masterpiece, the Goldwing, took that idea to god-tier levels of endurance. 1. Honda Goldwing Flat 6 engine, 1975 to 2017. The Honda Goldwing is a legend in motion. Since 1975, this touring icon has carried riders farther and smoother than almost anything on two wheels, all thanks to its incredible flat engine design. Starting with the GL1000, Honda's engineers introduced a horizontally opposed flat 4, later evolving it into the silky flat 6 that became the heart of the modern Goldwing. So why is this engine so bulletproof? It's all in the balance. Each piston's movement is perfectly countered by another, which means almost zero vibration. Less vibration equals less wear, and that's the secret to longevity. Add in liquid cooling, rock-solid build quality, and efficient heat dissipation across 6 cylinders, and you've got an engine that just refuses to die. The proof is legendary. Some Goldwings from the 70s are still running on their original engines after half a century. One 1975 GL1000 in Wisconsin clocked over 1 million miles without an engine swap. Another rider, Phil Steiner, racked up over 700,000 miles on his 2015 model, still on the original power plant. From the early flat 4s to the later 6-cylinder tours, the Goldwing's reputation is unmatched. In fact, Honda eventually stopped making some models, not because they weren't good, but because riders simply didn't need replacements. Their engines were still going strong. The Goldwing became the gold standard for what motorcycle endurance truly means. Which of these engines do you think could survive the apocalypse? Or maybe you've ridden one that just refuses to die? Drop your story in the comments. And hey, if your bike's older than your neighbor's car, you owe us a subscribe. Hit that button before your engine outlasts your phone battery.